to you. Just a quick one from Steve about my glasses.
Oh, yes.
Who says, pop into Poundland, pick up a pair of reading glasses, they work great. No. But actually, I've got the wrong prescription for that, because I've got an astigmatism, so I can't just wear
Oh, you're such a complicated individual.
Very complicated. My eyes are not round. They're like rugby balls.
Is that... really? Gosh.
So that's what an astigmatism. So
The actual pupil?
No, the actual eyeball.
Oh.
You can't see it though.
No, I'm just staring into your eyes. I want to stare into your eyes, Stephen.
Yeah, so that's how it works with astigmatism. So you can't see horizontal and vertical at the same time.
So he can't see horizontal and vertical at the same time.
Without
His eyes are the
lenses.
shape of rugby balls, and his glasses this morning mean that he can't read. Means that he can't read. So we're in a right tiz this
Apart
morning.
from that.
Yeah, apart from that, we're fine.
Very well.
Absolutely.
I'm going to wear different glasses tomorrow.
We are joined by the former editor of the Daily Star, Dawn Neeson, and the deputy editor of Spiked Online, Fraser Myers. So what have you been finding for us in the newspapers? Health spending, Dawn.
Oh, right.
The Telegraph?
I thought Fraser was going first this time. Anyway, no,
Ladies first.
Give me more airtime, that's fine. Health spending, yeah, in the Telegraph, yes. So we're not going to go too much on the headlines of the papers at the moment, because it is either politics or holidays. Lack of holidays, that is. So this is actually a really shocking story. This is, health spending is costing the country about £10,000 per household a year. That's the third highest share of GDP in Europe. Now, this is research that's tracked 19 wealthy countries, and we actually fare worse for healthcare than all of them, with the exception of America.
But we're paying more.
We are paying more than any of them.
Right.
It is absolutely, if you drill down into it, it's absolutely terrorising. We've got 6.2 million people, as we know, on the waiting list. Obviously, we've had the pandemic, I get all that.
But so has every other country.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is the point, and we keep making those excuses. Well, it was a pandemic. No, there is something horribly wrong, isn't there?
So that seems to indicate, and it goes down very, very badly with voters and with politicians, but we need to make it more efficient.
Well, this is the thing. But as you say, Stephen, the NHS has become a cult. You can't criticise it.
Touch it.
We keep pouring money into it. Increased spending on the NHS more than education, defence, more than any other area in life. And we still have this terrifying statistic of 50,000 deaths a year linked to substandard healthcare.
And yet we keep saying, don't we, and our politicians certainly keep saying, our NHS is the envy of the world.
I don't know, no one who has experienced more than one healthcare system could possibly say that. I mean, the spending on it is extraordinary. I mean, the annual NHS budget is roughly the equivalent of the entire economy of Greece. The NHS is the third biggest employer in the world after the Chinese army and the Indian railway services. And what are we getting? We have fewer doctors than comparable countries in Europe. We have much higher levels of cancer deaths. And, as you said, Dawn, this research shows that overall, we're just not getting good quality care. And that's where this idea that comes in, that we need to stop treating the NHS as a cult. We need to treat it as a service. People deserve the best quality healthcare possible.
But you need a government to have a proper plan and come up with this at the beginning of their time in government, because otherwise it's a vote loser. It just is.
Yeah, and not be frightened to tackle it. I think all political parties are scared to approach this. And, it's like, oh, you're privatising the NHS. And it's like, well, to be honest with you, it's already privatised, because
Lots
many
of
of us now are taking out loans.
Yeah.
We're using our savings to get basic treatment.
In fact, Rishi Sunak, in this big article in the Times, has actually grasped that at least. It may not make him popular, though. Waiting for treatment on the NHS is forcing people to go private, he says, with a gun to their head.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people would agree with that. The former Chancellor is promising an emergency package of tough targets for the health service, claiming that long delays amounted to privatisation by the back door. It needs radical change.
Well, let's hope it's not just talk. Let's hope he actually does something.
Yeah, I don't know if tough targets is going to mean anything.
Oh, well, this is the thing. It's all sound bites. It's like, vote for me, I'm Rishi, I'll do this and that, and then nothing gets done. Meanwhile, people are getting into debt and dying, 50,000 of us a year, for lack of healthcare.
Meanwhile, Fraser, in the eye, Trustonomics.
Trustonomics, this is an interesting story, because Trust is essentially being called out by someone who she claims supports her tax cut policy. He's saying that, yes, I agree with your tax cut policy, but it would mean hiking interest rates up to 7%. Now, let's refresh our memories here. Since the financial crash, interest rates have been so incredibly low. It's unimaginable to think of how painful that would be.
Yes,
a
but
rise of something like 6%.
And I totally get that, and I certainly don't want to see it. There's mortgage and all the rest of it. But 7% is actually, when you look at it, is actually a more realistic figure.
Well, it would be going back to a kind of old normal, and maybe that is something we want to get to over the long term. But we're in such a deep crisis that it's hard to see how we can, navigate our way through. We're in a hole basically. It's terrible that we have such low interest rates. It's terrible that we have so much money printing. But, without that, how much deeper in a crisis would we be? So I don't envy anyone at the Bank of England at the moment. I don't envy anyone who's going to take over the Treasury. And
why would anyone want to be Prime Minister?
Exactly. This is the worst time to take up the job. There are no good answers to this.
It's very difficult when we've got used to interest rates being artificially low.
Yeah, very,
Really.
Yeah.
But we don't want to see them go up. Of course we don't.
No.
But maybe it is an inevitability.
I honestly, it's just like, I just can't get my head around any of it this morning, to be honest with you.
Well, lighten the mood for us, because you've chosen a story from the Daily Mail about strippers.
Well, yes, why not?
Well, no, that's the title. What's the news?
Any case, this is, you pointed out, and it's in the Daily Mail, and this is strippers in Edinburgh have been banned from operating unless they do one thing.
Which is?
Keep their clothes on. Okay. Yes. So basically, it's the City of Edinburgh Council who have closed down 4 strip clubs in the Scottish capital because they are, what are they doing? They are disrespecting women. But these clubs can stay open provided the girls dance fully clothed. Might be missing the point here a bit, personally, but surely the point of a strip club is that you take your clothes off. I mean,
Is it? Well, here's the question then. Is it disrespecting women? Doesn't it depend on whether women are being forced or was trafficked into that line of work, or whether they are choosing to do it as a profession?
Here's my point. They've actually interviewed one of the girls who works in one of these clubs, and I totally agree with her. And the deputy leader of the council is saying, it's demeaning to women, but the stripper is saying it is not feminist to dictate how other women choose to earn their living, and it's not. That's not a feminist thing. I mean,
If they choose, if they choose,
provided, as Stephen just said, provided you're not forced into it or trafficked into it. If you choose to earn your living in that way, that is your choice as a woman. And what gives me the right as another woman, I might not agree with what you do for a living, but what gives me as another woman the right to dictate how you earn your living? It doesn't. It's profoundly wrong.
It's also this idea that you see one woman with her clothes off, and that is going to taint your impression of all women. There was a similar argument against Page 3. Just because some models take their clothes off, that means that every woman is brought down to a certain level. I've never agreed with that.
Because you're a Labour councillor in Edinburgh who happens to be a woman, that does make you any better or any worse than a woman who works in a strip club. I'm sorry.
I'm reminded as well of the Windmill Club in Soho, which was the first place ever in the UK where they could show naked people on stage. Now, it's funny because they got around the law preventing that by essentially presenting the women as statues.
Yes,
they would just take some lights and they would do little poses. So that went on through the blip, but then a couple of years ago, Westminster Council revoked their licence.
They carried on during the war.
Yeah. Survived the bombing.
Kept morale up.
Couldn't survive the local council bureaucrat.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be an interesting one to get your view on, actually. I sort of think, my sort of take on it, not that I've ever met any of these ladies, I've got to say.
How do you know?
But
How do you know?
Well, I might, well, yeah.
What do you think I do at weekends?
I've not knowing met them. I've not known them, but my thought would be, surely if they're, I would think it was quite empowering in the sense that you've got these men down there and you are rinsing them for the fact that they want to go up and hand over loads of their money. And so I said, well, all power to your elbow.
Absolutely, I'm sure it is.
I'm sure it's a mixture of both. I'm sure there are times when the men are horrible, and I'm sure there's times when, as you say, you're rinsing them. Like any job, it's
the point is, and there's this
good and bad about it.
There's this lady, as interview said, look, I do this, I choose to do this to pay my rent and feed my children. It's her job. Let her get on with it.
Oh, yeah. sort of.
I was going to say I hated Page 3 girls, I really did. But of course we all knew Samantha Fox very well, didn't we? Who made an entire incredible career out of being a Page 3 girl, and I wouldn't ever do her down for that. But I didn't like the whole idea of
We don't
Page
have
3.
to like it as women, Anne, but if you choose to do it and you're not forced to do it, absolutely fine.
Well, Katie Price, Melissa Messenger.
Yeah.
Loads.
Who all made sort of big careers out of
Yeah.
it. Like, but I mean, I don't know.
But does it do it with women, Dan? I don't know. I
Well,
think,
now we have
I
Magic
used to
Mike,
think it did.
so there's equality coming in.
We have equality now, at least.
Yes, true.
Yeah, it's interesting. All that Magic Mike no one's.
No one would say this is demeaning to men. How can you,
No.
how can you look another man in the eye
Actually,
once you've
that's
seen that?
interesting. It's the double standards
It is
again,
double
isn't
standards.
it? It really is. For men, it's like a bit of fun, a bit of cheek, and it's like you can get away with it. But women, it's demeaning, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
You're
And,
probably forced into it, and you don't know any better.
yeah, you don't know any better. That's it, isn't it?
Yeah. In the Eye, Zach Goldsmith is saying what about Extinction Rebellion?
He's saying the protests work. And
Hey,
that they
good guy.
are successful in getting the government's attention and pushing through climate policy. Now, I think he has a point in the sense that the protests are working, but only because the government already agrees with them. The government already has a net zero policy. Everyone in the establishment is terrified of climate change. And, sometimes it's quite difficult to put a cigarette paper between the position of the kind of eco-lunatics and some of the most powerful people in the country. It's often just a difference of tone. The activists are just a bit more shrill in how they talk about this crisis.
And they have more glue.
And they have more glue. Whereas if you take something like today there's the kind of fuel protest, Go Slow, that's not going to get nearly as much attention. It's going to cause some disruption, like a protest should. But, are they going to be listened to? Probably not.
But they will get us talking about
I
the
hope so.
issue more than if they didn't.
More than if they didn't, yeah.
There's something quite irksome, though, isn't there? Or is it just me?
Irksome.
About Zach Goldsmith sort of backing.
Yeah.
It's a bit like What's-Her-Face, who joined Extinction Rebellion and glued herself to the pavement, whatever, by flying in on a private jet from Los
Well,
Angeles.
quite, yeah.
Emma Thompson.
Emma Thompson, yeah.
It's the very privileged who aren't trying to drive their lorries delivering stuff around the country, sitting there going, oh, this is a very good idea.
It depends whether he's backing them or whether he's simply making the remark that actually their protest did work because it got us talking.
Well,
And maybe it did influence government.
He is himself quite an extreme environmentalist, so whether he says explicitly or not that he's backing Extinction Rebellion, he's definitely on side.
No, it's interesting, isn't it? Glasses, because going on about my glasses this morning. What are they, Dawn? Are they reading glasses? Or
They are reading glasses. They are middle-aged reading glasses.
You see, this is the thing about getting older. David says, varifocals are a sure sign of middle age. That's what these are, they're not working properly. Then you find you're 60 and you need a pair of reading specs as well. I remember my mum and a lifelong friend comparing ailments and rounding off with, there's nothing to look forward to in getting older. Actually, I don't think that's true.
Oh, I think it is.
Oh, I don't know, I'm quite looking forward to I don't mind getting older.
No, you say that when you're young.
It's better than being dead.
Well, that's
There is that as
true.
an alternative, I think.
That's the only alternative.
No, but there is. I think we should celebrate. In the Book of Proverbs or something, it says you should wear grey hairs like a crown. I've always quite liked that, particularly because
No, I don't like that
I'm sticking to the peroxide, love.
Try
Thank
to
you.
be positive about
Yeah.
it. Anyway, look, we're out of time. We shall see you two a little bit later on.
Excellent.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Yeah.
We've got all your top stories coming up in a couple of minutes.